How do you close down a bunch of businesses and create more monopolies and wealth at the top? Well, I don't know. Should we lock everybody down and cripple supply chains and then pump as much money into the system as we can possibly get away with? So you collapse the amount of goods and services in the economy, at the same time raising the amount of money, fiat currencies, in the economy. What's going to happen? You're going to cause like this huge inflation of prices. Wages won't keep up with that. You've literally socially engineered people into feeling the desperation that they currently feel at the moment, and they don't know where to look.
This episode of the Free Cities podcast is brought to you by Veritas Villages. Now, Veritas Villages are freedom-oriented, energy self-sufficient luxury communities designed for people who want to enjoy peace of mind and real freedom in today's unpredictable world. Join a community of like-minded neighbours who value privacy and independence in a place where you can use Bitcoin, including for the purchase of your property. www.veritasvillages.com/free cities for more info, and in the meantime, enjoy the conversation. Right, Princey.
I love that you have an absolute blank page.
Yeah.
Well, for Giacomo's interview, you've got a full page of notes of what you want to ask him.
Yeah.
And for Princey, nothing. Blank canvas. Let's go.
Yeah, let's fucking go. I did. I even last night watched some of Giacomo's videos, because the thing is, like, when you speak to Bitcoiners, there's a limit to. I've already noticed that, you know, the golden age of Bitcoin podcasts is kind of over, isn't it? And as a result, you don't really want to hear all the same things over and over again. So I'm trying to dig between the lines, and I've definitely found it. I mean, a guy I interviewed this morning, which was a real surprise, Leon Vankum.
Yes.
Right. The kind of real estate guy?
Yeah.
No, he's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I saw something he'd posted on Twitter, and I thought, there's more to this guy than you think. He's not, because he was on Preston's show, and he's just talking about real estate as if he's a real estate dude, which he is. But he studied under a guy who used to run the Free Cities Foundation. He's into like Austrian economics massively. He's into the philosophical side of Bitcoin. We ended up speaking for 2 hours, and it was really good. You know, and that's what I have to do. But with you, I mean, I just know you. Now I know you now as the conspiracy guy. I could even put the lights. I could make them a bit warmer for you if you want. Like, you can spin them. But you've actually done exactly what I'm talking about. You used to be once bit in the Bitcoin podcast, and now you are the Alex Jones show. Aren't you? Let's face it, Mr. Was it called Mr. What are they called? Oh, fucking hell. Chemtrails.
Right.
Yeah. The Chemtrail King.
Yeah.
But you, I mean, you have pivoted into I think this is how it looks like it went to me. Mm-hmm. You get into Bitcoin, you realize that money's a scam. And then from that point on, you realize everything's a scam. That's basically it, isn't it? Yes. And as a result, you now interview, I mean, Bitcoin's still a core part of it, but it's a lot of other stuff. Like I take it those glasses are something to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this came actually directly from the interview with Jack Cruz, Dr. Jack Cruz, who is a Bitcoiner as well, and a neurosurgeon. So if nobody's heard of Jack, I would certainly follow him on Twitter. He does a lot of long form tweets that aren't AI. It's actually he curates them from his newsletter. So he has his tribe that he calls the mitochondriacs, and because he's all about cellular biology, and light is a huge thing for him and for us and for our biology. And he has an excellent way of conveying very complicated biological, physiological, physics and chemistry stuff that we wouldn't have been taught at school, and getting that across in layman's terms. And he's coming. I keep banging the table. Sorry. And he comes from. He had 3 or 4 decades as a neurosurgeon, like literally unscrewing the tops of people's heads and sorting out their brains and then screwing, the classic man from Two Brains scenes.
It's not, he's not a brain surgeon. No, he is a brain surgeon.
Yes, fully on. And I actually remember that the first time I come across Jack was in Clubhouse.
Oh my God, is that still a thing?
Is it
still a thing?
It is still a thing, but I haven't been on Clubhouse basically since Spaces started, right? Do you remember we were all locked down?
Yeah.
And
I didn't have the balls to go on that.
No.
I hadn't gone online, and I hadn't revealed myself face to face online until the pandemic, believe it or not. Like when we did Safe Teens thing?
Yes.
I was nervous to turn the camera on. In fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't turn the camera on immediately, but that was the beginning.
Now you say that. Yeah.
That was the beginning of it. Zoom, all that stuff happened when everyone got locked down.
Yes.
Prior to that, I had never done a video call, and the thought of going on a space and speaking out loud was a big deal.
So you've been a Twitter lurker?
I've been everything lurker.
So you were on Twitter, but you were just a lurker. You weren't
I was on Twitter, but I had a completely different personality. I was the media me, filmmaking, photography, all that kind of stuff. And I never put my own image on there. I just put my pictures and films. It was like a marketing thing more than anything. I didn't really do opinions. I still don't. I don't really, but I do distinctly remember going on. Do you know? Right, one thing I did. You know what it's like when something new like that happens. You say, "Oh, God, try that," and it seemed quite intrusive, actually. And do you know a guy on Twitter? He's an absolute nutter called Bitlord. Oh my God, so. He's like part. It's hard to know exactly what he is, but he's definitely a shit coiner. He's definitely a meme trader. He's all that stuff. But he also is like a stand-up comedian. And during the pandemic, he did this hilarious series of him being in China, saying, "I've got to get out of here. People are dying all around me," and stuff like that. And it went completely viral. And no one knew whether it was real or not. It was really bizarre. He was really playing on that thing. Now you obviously realise he's a complete nutter. One time he set fire to he lost all his money on meme coins, and he set fire to his apartment, in Dubai and stuff like that. But he didn't really burn his apartment down, but he did. He does really, really funny rants anyway. And one time I was laughing my head off watching this thing, and he just put a tweet out saying, "Who wants to do a Spaces? Come on now." And I thought, sod it. And I did. I just went straight on, popped up live, and there was 5 of us there. And I was like, this is the most full-on thing I think I've ever done. I'm just like, here, people can see into my office, and behind me and stuff. It's so second nature to us now. But that was literally me trying it for the first time. And it was 2020 or something? It seems...
Yes. So Clubhouse, because COVID pushed us all to think of different ways to connect with each other online in a more meaningful way. That you had House Party. Do you remember that?
That was the kids' version, right?
That was like the app that you downloaded, and you could have... Because up until that point, we just had Skype. Skype was kind of the monopoly.
Do you know that they went out of business, by the way, recently?
How is that possible?
I found this out about 3 months ago in Morocco. The guy I was interviewing said, "Oh yeah, Skype went out. They went into liquidation about 2 weeks ago," which is unbelievable. I thought they could have cornered that market. How do you fuck that up?
They were the only game in town.
Yeah.
And then everybody wanted to go online because we'd been physically, locked away from each other. And, human beings are physical and social creatures. Yeah. So what did we do? Well, we iterate, and you get Clubhouse and you get House Party. And I think there was one other. I can't remember what it is.
It was definitely House Party for the kids.
Yeah.
We banned it in our house. It was so annoying. And it was probably a complete privacy nightmare when you look back.
Most likely, looking back, yeah.
And I never did Clubhouse because Clubhouse was a bit of a kind of there was a bit of an in thing there. It wasn't very friendly.
Well, you needed, that's right, you're correct. You needed an invite from someone else to join it.
That's it.
And not only that, it was iPhone enabled only. And I didn't
I didn't have an
iPhone. And I started getting pressure from Bitcoiners, like, why aren't you on Clubhouse? You need to be on Clubhouse. Get on Clubhouse.
I think we had this conversation back then, actually.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure we
Probably
did.
because we were on the weekly calls with Safe.
That's right. Yeah.
So it probably would have come up at some stage. But I did get on it, and I was listening to a discussion. I was in one of the rooms, and on comes Jack. And
Jack who? Malik?
Jack Cruz.
Oh, Jack Cruz.
Who we were talking about.
Right.
And he just starts dropping these bombs, and he clearly knew what he was talking about. You could, you just know within a first sentence whether this guy's a Bitcoiner or not a Bitcoiner. And he was a Bitcoiner. And he started talking about how he's just come out of surgery because he's a brain surgeon, this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking about the pandemic and what's going on. And this is all completely nonsense, what's going on in hospitals with the respirators and all of this kind of stuff. I was just, wow. So I've been following him for a long time and just learning a lot more from his work. And I've had him on my podcast. He had a TED Talk banned in 2011.
Really? On what?
Well, cold therapy, pretty much, is the...
As in ice baths and stuff like that?
Way before Wim Hof and any of this kind of stuff. Literally the feds knocked down his door and wanted to know what he was working on and why and all this kind of stuff. So that was Lauren's first question on the podcast. So why was your TED Talk banned? And that set up the whole conversation. We had a 2.5-hour conversation. But he does a lot on light, on our eyes, and what our eyes are basically... They need the full spectrum of light to be coming in. They are like this information channel, this super highway of information down to our cellular level. And lights like these, the UV lights that are in, like this is
LEDs, you mean?
LEDs specifically.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
Yeah, LEDs and blue light specifically. And blue light that's flickering. These things are flickering. Our eyes can't pick it up. But if... You know what it's... You're a cameraman. You know when you film a computer screen or something like that, you'll see the flicker. Are you turning them down? Or?
No, I can make them go yellow.
Oh, right, okay.
That's white light.
Yeah.
And then yellow light. It depends what you want. I've got them set to half and half because,
So that's the reason for the blue blockers. So it blocks the blue lights. So whenever I'm at these conferences, you generally, because of the nature of the podcast and the work that I've done in the past, I'll be invited to the conferences to host the stages or to host panels.
Sorry, I put it up too bright now, so this is...
And that means I'm locked inside for 8 to 9 hours all day, and I'm just having this unnatural light beamed at me all day long because you're on the stage. You've got the red lights, the blue lights, the green lights, the flashing lights. You've got the TV screens and whatever else. And Jack's like, dude, that stuff is just so bad for you.
And what does it do then?
Now, I wish I could explain to you. But,
all you do,
yeah,
you just wear the glasses, mate.
Yeah, it's going to completely knock you out of your circadian rhythm. And so, like I said, the eyes are the information superhighway. So if you want to be in a good circadian rhythm, you want to be getting the red light, the good red light in the very morning, the very, very early morning sun. That's when you've got good red light from the sun. During the rest of the day, you've got what's called UV light, and that is still very, very good for you. You want all of the spectrum of the light in your pupil. And then in the evening, the sunset, you have the red light again. So if you're not getting that full spectrum, your circadian rhythm's getting completely screwed up. Now, if you look at if you just take the general fiat lifestyle, we've all lived it. You generally, most people listening might be commuting, listening to this podcast at this time. You've woken up, depending on where you live, it might even be dark. So you're not going to even see the sunrise. By the time the sun rises, you'd have been on the train or the bus under LED blue flickering lights. Then you'd have got to the office and you'll be under LED flickering blue lights. You'll be looking at a computer screen or two at the very least, depending on your job and your cubicle. You've probably got double screens or a laptop on the go at the same time at the very least. So you're looking at all this blue flashing light all day long above you and right in front of your eyes. Then the reverse happens on your way home. And then when you get home, what do? You sit down in your dip in the sofa and you turn on the television. So you do, and then people wonder why their sleep is fucked up.
I did see on I think it was Nosta yesterday, maybe you posted it, there was a very good meme, which was like a page of a cartoon page, and it was a cartoon character, And it was first thing in the morning at breakfast, looking at the phone, going to work, looking at the screen, at 11 o'clock, taking a break from the screen to look at the phone, lunchtime, back to the screen, just like how you've described. And it's true. I actually do that. I work at home, and taking a break for me is going to the phone. And I've never even thought of it like that before. That's quite serious, isn't it? Like, I don't like looking at screens, but why the fuck? We do look at screens a hell of a lot. Even conscientious people look at screens a lot. Yeah. The only way you can't is to literally work outside with your hands or something. Otherwise, I think I used to read a lot of books. Mm-hmm. It's like looking at a screen, but it's not, right? Yeah. The lights are having a bad effect on you.
So do you want to go the Alex Jones route now, down the light stuff, which Jack talked about?
Oh, well, if Jack says it, Jack's the brain surgeon, not me.
So he take me down like the
LED rabbit hole.
The LED conspiratorial blue light rabbit hole, basically.
Yeah.
Because it does put you in a state of like zombie mode. And this is where the whole tinfoil hat wearing kind of meme comes from, because people used to believe, and correctly, that the television was programming you in some way, and whether that was the frequency from the actual device itself or the flickering blue light.
Was it alpha waves as well that puts you into a meditative state? Because I think kids get particularly mesmerised.
Just look at them.
Yeah.
When they're looking at their, this thing is real, and Jack basically says this goes back to the formation of Las Vegas, because what was happening in Las Vegas, well, all of these casinos were getting built. Who was building the casinos? The mafia and people that not great people, let's put it that way. And what did they figure out? Well, they figured out like these the slot machines are a classic example. The blue flashing lights, you get mesmerized sitting in front of them. So and then they started layering on different tricks. So they'd take all the clocks out of the casinos. They'd black out the windows, or the windows would be fake windows. Blue lights above you because they're flickering the whole time. And they realized that and pump oxygen in, right? These are the classic tricks that everybody knows now. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is all completely, totally proven. That puts somebody into like almost a meditative zombie state. So they'll just keep putting the coins in, right? Or they'll keep gambling away at the blackjack table or the roulette table or whatever. So then this gets transformed into like big tech now. So why is it? If we know that's what the technology does, why are all of our laptops built in such a way? Why are all of the televisions built in such a way? And of course, they'll tell you because it's the better, you want the 4D, HD, this, that, and the other thing, best film experience, and you want the best experience from your monitor. But what's actually happening is that flickering light is so bad for you. It's putting you in a state, and they are able to control you in many, many different ways that you even thought possible. You pair that with the algorithm stuff that we all know is going on in Twitter, the nudging and whatever else, and whether it's Facebook, and you can look at Cambridge Analytica and all that kind of stuff. We'll come on to Dominic Cummings and another conspiracy theory. And so now we have a Bitcoiner company run by two Bitcoiners, Anjan and Tristan, and it's called Daylight Computer. Have you bumped up against these guys? Do you know what they do? No. So they produce basically an iPad, a tablet, but it's good tech health. What they're trying to do is completely turn the tables like Bitcoiners do. Take the bad health in the tech and turn it into good health. So they've devised this screen that there's no backlight at all. None of this flashing blue light or anything like that. So
was it like an Amazon Kindle screen or something?
Yeah, something along those lines. Right. Exactly. But now it's a beautiful touchpad, and you can use the stylus pen on it, and you can have all your apps on there, and it's very, very cool piece of kit. So that all the way back around. That's why I wear the glasses under the blue lights. But when I'm outside, they're straight off. But I don't wear sunglasses because sunglasses then block the UV light that you still need. And if you're using the sunglasses to block that light, then you're not getting all of that information. Your eyes don't know what time of day it is. Your eyes do not know how sunny and bright it is outside. So your body will not produce the melanin that it needs to protect you from the sun, which is basically what all of suntan is because it gets more and more intense, the light gets more and more intense, you produce more melanin. The melanin is darker pigment in your skin, and that's that. It's just sun protection. So if you're wearing the sunglasses, you're more likely to burn.
I heard that one. I didn't understand why, but I'm not sure I still do. I do know that a lot of people are very against sun lotions, most of them.
Sun lotions, yes.
I mean, is anything not a scam? No. Actually, going back to what you were saying about the light and stuff and being mesmerised and Vegas and all this kind of stuff, it is very similar. Like when you think about, and now I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist now, but if you think about Twitter, right? Yes. It's like playing a fruit machine, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's like ching, ching, ching. And one of the things that gets you about fruit machines, I remember as a kid, we used to play them in pubs. It was ridiculous because you'd go down the pub with about £7, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. And you probably put 5 of it in the fruit machine and you were gutted because why did I do that? But the reason you do it is because it feels like just round the corner, something's going to happen. You're going to win the money. And that's the same with TikTok. You never reach the end of TikTok, do you? The next one's going to give me that, it's going to, or whatever, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. So I suppose I wouldn't fall on it. I wouldn't think of it as a conspiracy, though. I would think of it as a natural occurrence from the incentives which exists.
Well, you got to ask yourself, what is a conspiracy?
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's a good point.
Somebody has, you and I conspired to set up this podcast, right?
Right. Yeah.
To set up this event. So there was the designers of TikTok or Twitter or whatever, that they will have a boardroom and they will sit around and conspire to figure out how do we keep more eyeballs on our platform longer than the other one? Like that is their raison d'etre. Otherwise they're out of business. And you're totally right, because how many times have you found yourself, say you take your break or you've gone for a dump or something and you're on your Twitter feed and you're scrolling through and you're scrolling through and you're scrolling through and you're like, right, okay, I've been scrolling for 5 minutes and you didn't even realize, nothing much more of interest. So you pull down, like, let's refresh the screen. Let's refresh the feed. Something must have happened now in the last 5 minutes. And now that is addictive behavior. And the best thing people can do just to test this theory that we're talking about is switch your phone to black and white mode. See how much time less you spend on your phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because the mesmerizing flicker is not getting you. So it doesn't work in black and white?
No.
I didn't even know you could
you can even go a step further and download an app. It's free, called Twilight, and then set that onto red light. So I can show you now. I always have Twilight on my phone.
I've got something on my laptop that makes it go orange in the evenings.
Right. Yeah.
But I always turn it off. Yeah, flux, because it's so annoying because I can't see what I'm looking at. But I do. I find myself just switching it off every time. But
right.
I leave it running because I think it's probably good for me. But I don't know. Looking at an orange screen really doesn't work for me. Or maybe I'm used to the bright light.
You are. Yeah. You are. You're definitely used to it. You'll find you'll spend less time on your devices if try the black and white trick. Honestly, it's just a setting on your phone. On any phone, you'll be able to figure it out.
Have you noticed you're getting any pushback from your listeners?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Are you? Because I don't know.
And more importantly, friends.
Really?
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about this. Was it? I might even have been talking to you about it. I can't remember. I talked to so many bloody people. But I'm... Yeah, well, was I talking to you about David Icke?
Yes.
No, yes, right.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a good example because I'm probably going to be interviewing his son next month.
That's amazing.
Well, because he's into all that stuff now. But what's interesting about someone like David Icke, for those of you that don't know, he was a British footballer, famous footballer, who then became a commentator, a football commentator.
Did he actually play football?
Yeah. He was a good footballer, mate.
Really? I had no clue.
No, he was. That's why he became the... actually, don't quote me on it. I'm pretty sure. I'm not an aficionado on him. But anyway, he basically had some kind of awakening experience in the 80s, I think it was. And because he was famous, he went on the biggest talk show in the UK, which was Wogan. Do you remember Terry Wogan's show?
Yes.
And he basically said he was Jesus, come back to warn everyone, and he was wearing purple, and he was basically completely ridiculed and laughed at on TV in the most terrible way. And but I did take an interest in him at the time, and I bought his book because I'm like, when anyone does something like that, you've got like something's happening here. What's going on?
What was the book called?
Robots Rebellion.
Okay.
And basically, the book said that the book basically predicted everything that's happening now. But it went a lot further and said that the conspiracy, the reason it's happening is because it's our other dimensional entities who shapeshift between lizard forms and all this kind of stuff. But the basics was a kind of mesh network prison type planet, which is pretty much, I mean, as far as I can tell, is the equivalent of it is the kind of social credit system. He did predict all this, and it was the mark of the beast was implanted. Chips in your hand to do things, which has happened.
Your Apple Watch.
Well, no. Actually, I interviewed someone the other day who's actually got a chip in his thing to pay for things. I know. Okay. Exactly right. Whatever. It's up to them if they want to do that. But he did predict all this, right? And then he ended up writing hundreds and hundreds of books. I think probably in the end he's probably written about 15 or 20 books. I don't know. And one of them is really interesting because when as you start reading his books, it thick, big things all about the Rothschilds and secret societies and the Masons and all this stuff. And he was absolutely obsessed with researching all this stuff. And one of his books came out, and he basically, the front cover of it, I remember it was called I Am Me, I Am Free. And the front cover was him, stark bollock naked, standing there like this, like the guy, like the Da Vinci picture of the human.
Yes.
And because I just remember when I bought it, Waterstones had put a sticker over his penis so that you couldn't see it. But the reason he did it was, and he talked about this a lot in his other books, is like when he got so completely ridiculed by everyone, there was really nothing they could do to him. And the last thing was, look, here I am completely naked. Come at me, bro. It's like, how are you going to ridicule me now? This is the most ridiculous thing. And, it was kind of like a precursor to cancelling people and stuff. But anyway, the reason I mentioned him was because he probably loses a hell of a lot of readers and listeners and people like that because he talks about the lizard stuff and the blah blah blah. And I would say the basics of what he talks about do appear to be true according to what I know. So I'm wondering whether you're not facing the same thing, because you're not going full lizard, but from where we were, your chemtrails and this and that and the kind of memes that don't give people a good reputation. I know, to be honest, chemtrails appears to be true, right? Yeah. Chemtrails used to be that, oh my God, it's like it used to be a flat earth theory, didn't it, really? And now it's true, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, but come on, what about the pushback?
Yeah, so I was pulled into that rabbit hole again by people I trusted, other Bitcoiners who I respected, and I'm like, they must have started talking to me about this 2 years ago. I'm like, yeah, no, guys, I don't think there's anything there. Like, just keep looking.
What was the gateway drug?
The gateway drug was my own eyes, because when that the way it was explained to me, it's like, well, just what do you remember as a kid, and then think deeply about that. And then look up at the sky and just, for the next 3 months, just keep mental notes. That's all I'm asking. And just have an open mind.
About chemtrails.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, that's not much of an ask. I think I owe these people that at the very least. You know, they're very solid friends of mine, people I respect. So I did, and what I kept seeing just wasn't adding up, wasn't making sense. And then you start digging into it, and you start reading a few books about it, obviously, and doing a little bit of research, and bumping up against just little truths. Like, so what I remembered as a kid, you and I are around the same age. I was born in 1976. I remember you'd be out playing in the garden, and especially in the summertime, and laying around, you know, and you would see the planes fly over. And as a very young man, like 8-year-old, you know what? That's the coolest thing. It's a vivid memory for me, laying in the garden, watching jets fly over and seeing the tiny little white trails and just wondering, I wonder where that's going. I wonder who's on that aeroplane. Like, you know, I wonder how high that is. Like, how is that even possible? All of these thoughts that would go through your mind as a young boy. So I vividly remember that. And now when I watch it, you still see those planes sometimes going over, having the exact same thing. Tiny little line disappears after 1 or 2 seconds. I'm like, that's what I remember. I'm not going crazy. And then some days you wake up and you open the curtains and there's just these lines crisscrossed all over the sky. You're like, okay, I definitely don't fucking remember that shit.
But people, I always assumed that was to do with the atmospheric conditions.
That's what we're told.
But how can you prove it's not then?
Well, this is the thing. You can't verify. I can't go up and verify, right? I can't fly up and even take air samples of that thing. So it's one of these perfect little like psyops that could be run on us. That's just water vapor and exhaust fumes, bro, and ice crystals, and you know, it's very easy to dismiss.
My contention would be, how do you keep that a secret? Like what? How does every pilot, if it's that many pilots, they're not all in on it, right?
No.
So how do you keep that a secret? Come on.
No, well, yeah.
Like basically, it's weather changing. What people think it is, or what people know it is, right? It's been reported just even in the mainstream media now, right?
Just recently, and I did you see it in the BBC? And
no.
Okay, well, anybody listening now can just go to if you just Google BBC. UK government plans to dim the sun. And you'll come up with a bunch of different articles. It's all over the mainstream media in the UK. I think it's even hitting other countries as well. So their rationale for why they're doing it is to block the sun, literally to dim the sun.
Why though?
To save us all, Tim.
From what?
From the climate crisis that we're all completely embroiled in, and that we can't have the sun heat the planet by another 2 degrees, because then all of the ice will melt and all the polar bears will die and we'll all have a catastrophic flood and we're all going to die. And to save humanity, we're going to spray reflective particulate into the stratosphere to reflect the sun and save us all.
Which seems really weird.
Complete
anyway.
lunacy. It's like it's a script straight out of a James Bond film, and this is why people just shake their heads and think you're crazy when you talk about it. But now it's like, if there's even a video of Bill Gates explaining why he's investing hundreds of millions of dollars into a company called Silver Linings. You can't make this shit up.
Really?
A company called Silver Linings that hire private companies to go up and do this. And there's a company in the UK, for the UK listeners, called JetXL. And you can go to jetxl.com and watch, or find them on YouTube and watch videos of them showing you how they've got 2 737s with huge tanks inside. So inside where you would have general passenger seats, completely all ripped out, 2 massive tanks inside, and they're boasting about the technology. And they're saying the technology here, what we do is oil spill dispersant technology. So if there's ever an oil spill in the sea, you call us, we'll get out there, we can spray the chemicals on there and it breaks it all up, and that's great. You're like, how often do oil spills happen? You got 2 737s just sitting idle in 2 different areas of the UK. That's not a good business plan. You and I both know how businesses work.
But
You've got to have that thing in the air the whole time.
Can't you watch their flight paths though?
I'm sure you can.
You must be able to, because I think you can watch everything, can't you?
Unless, of course, it is under a military kind of operation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still suspicious, because I'm suspicious of a lot of those kind of conspiracies, because I think how difficult it would be to hide it.
Yeah,
there's always someone. I mean, people who say 9/11 was an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at the videos and go, yep, that does look like loads of explosions happening all the way down the thing, right? But how the hell do you keep that a secret? How do you implant all that stuff secretly and then blow it up and it still be a secret? I mean, obviously, nothing about 9/11 makes sense. No. And the worst one is the other building that just falls down out of nowhere.
Tower 7.
Yeah, which is
still standing behind the BBC reporter when she's telling you it's
see,
collapsed.
That bit I think is not important.
Right.
I think that's a distraction. But what's not a distraction is that building just fell down like it was being demolished, and randomly.
Yep.
Like nothing hit it, nothing touched it, nothing. Yep. Right, okay. It's almost, my theory would be they probably thought that the thing might topple like this or something and knock it, and then they could do it at the same time or something, you know. But it's so that I don't need anyone to prove to me that is weird. And I think when you look into it, wasn't that where they held sort of like the records of? I think there's some kind of Pentagon,
yes,
whatever, something there. But once again, that could be a distraction. What isn't a distraction is that building just fell down. But it didn't just fall over or fall down. It fell down. Like when you demolish a building, that's what happens.
It collapsed in on itself.
Yes, yeah. Exactly right. Not nonsense. Yeah. But still, and chemtrails is the same. I still think, how the hell do you keep that secret? Think about us trying to do a conspiracy, right, on that scale, right? How do you keep it? How do you keep it quiet? Seriously,
yeah.
How does not one person know one person who knows one person who just says, no, this is what's happening, you know? And chemtrails seems like a really obvious one, because it's such a nutty idea. I mean, yep. Do people deny it? Do the official channels deny that it exists, or do they now say it exists? Or
it seems we've got to this point now where they're adamant on getting out this story across the whole world of how important it is to dim the sun. And I don't know why, and this is only very, very recently, in the last 3 months, that they've been pushing out. And so we have to be very careful, because we're only ever told half truths, right, through the mainstream media. So what they're telling us isn't true. There's still something else going on. If anybody wants to really dig into it, there's a book called Chemtrails Exposed, and it's in its second edition, and it's by a guy called Peter Kirby. And I've booked him for an interview, and he's actually being interviewed by Tucker Carlson very soon, or is about to drop very soon.
Oh, right. So it's going quite mainstream.
Yes. But he takes this all the way back to the to Project Paperclip and Manhattan Project, when all of these scientists ended up in the US. For those that aren't aware of what Project Paperclip is, the US gathered together all of the top Nazi scientists and repatriated them for their safety, to the US, because that meant then they wouldn't get caught up in the Nuremberg trials, right? So they were literally saved. They had their lives saved by the US and by that government. Then they were placed and given whatever means they needed to carry on their research in whatever field of research that they were studying. So whether that's atomic bombs, rocket science, physiology, whatever. And that's that. Remember niacin in our last episode?
Oh, very well, yeah.
Willard Krell, Dr. Willard Krell, was brought across in Project Paperclip to continue his studies on niacin, which cured pellagra. Pellagra is, you've never heard of it, nor had I. Pellagra is eczema, dermatitis, interfigo, all of these different names that they give the same thing because they can sell several creams to dandruff, all of it. Any kind of like skin-associated disease, rashes, warts, is all is foundationally pellagra. Pellagra is just completely wiped out if you just boost the body with vitamin B3, which is what niacin is, which is what Willard Krell's research was, which gets squashed. So we can have this whole business, spawn out of hiding the research. So what else were they doing? And what Peter Kirby starts uncovering, he calls it the military industrial education complex, and all four of these arms all working together. And there's a very famous clip of Lyndon B. Johnson giving a talk, an address at a university. I can't remember which university, but he's in there in his cloak and his hat and whatever else, bit of cosplay. They love that over there. And telling everybody, we need to figure out a way to control the cloud cover of the world, because if we control the cloud cover, we control the world. So it's a military objective to control the weather. Like this is like.
But wait a minute. How do you control the world with cloud cover?
So I don't know, because I'm not a lunatic. But what these guys, they have all of these researchers, the top brains in the world, figuring this out, and that's when they discovered HAARP, HAARP. You've heard of that?
I have. It's something to do with broadcasting waves.
Yes.
Something. I don't know what it is though.
So the first installation was installed in Alaska. There's a connection to a university, and I can't remember which one. That's why Kirby talks about this. These four pillars, and the researchers theorized. So that's another conspiracy, I suppose, isn't it? A theory. They theorized that if they could heat the ionosphere or perturb the ionosphere, they could potentially control the weather in some way, shape, or form, perhaps by redirecting the jet stream. And so they started, obviously, building this kind of stuff.
Who wants to do that, though? Why do you
Military.
want to do? Why? Oh, it's an attack vector or something.
Right. Under national security, Tim, of course. It's for your safety, always. So, and this is what they built. And, lo and behold, they figured out that, so in the ionosphere, you can just heat that thing with microwaves and radio waves from... Have you ever seen a picture of the HAARP facility in Alaska? No. It's weird AF, mate. It's about like the size of... And then again, anyone listening, just hit pause... HAARP installation, hit images, and you'll see it. It's the most dastardly looking thing. It's just this array of antennae in a great big kind of rectangular, like football fields sized. It's just it's a dark thing to look at, and and that obviously is supercharged with electrical current. And then they can turn up the radio waves or the microwaves and just start perturbing the ionosphere, and testing and theorizing and testing hypotheses. This thing is still live, and there are more HAARP installations all around the world, because obviously research gets shared at the very top level with the right people, and under this idea of national security or one world governance, and this is what they push out there. So this is where people are like, well, this is just some kind of evil plan. Well, is it an evil plan, or is it just iteration on top of iteration on top of breakthrough on top of new hypothesis on top of iteration? So if we can do that, what if we had extra particulate up there that would even amplify that, and what would that be? So this is where Kirby theorizes, and I think he's probably right. He starts talking about coal fly ash. Coal fly ash is a byproduct of burning coal to produce electricity. So in the great big funnels that you would see, everybody's seen those, and the smoke is billowing out at the top. Further down those chimneys is a contraption that catches all of the soot, for want of a better word. And all of the soot then becomes a byproduct. So what do you do with that byproduct? Well, the best thing you can do is find a market for it. The best market for it for many decades was concrete. So it would get mixed into concrete, and that's perfectly fine. But we're talking about a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So this isn't a game. Like this is a real freaking business, a massive market and a floating market, and we'll even have derivatives on top of that market. This is like stuff we don't even think about. And then of course, if you've got too much of that stuff and it can't make it into all of the concrete, what are the other markets? So the other markets that they've figured out was to mix it. This is, again, Peter Kirby, what I've learned from his book. It gets mixed into the fuel mix, which, again, you'd think no way in the world could they mix that in. And I can't prove it. I'm not a jet engineer. I'm going on what I've researched through Peter Kirby and his research and all of the papers and citations that he puts at the end of each chapter. And then that gets dumped into the air along with aluminium, barium, and strontium, which must be byproducts of some other big industrial business. I don't know. And that will obviously make in essence, that drops the ionosphere, because this stuff can be electrically charged quicker and more effectively. And now you're carrying more electrical charge, so you've got an even better chance at perturbing the weather. And mate, when I was reading all of this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, like you, like the cognitive dissonance that was ringing in my ears. And what cognitive dissonance is, when you face new information, everything that you believe to be true, like, this is why you have this like kind of visceral, like, no, what are you talking about? Like, this is complete and utter nonsense. I now actually enjoy those moments when I feel the bells go off now, and that's more of a signal to me rather than like just like, walk away from this person, he's completely crazy. I actually want to learn more.
Well, I mean, these are, like you say, this guy's a bloody neurosurgeon. I kind of trust him.
No, so Kirby is someone completely to Cruz, but I'm glad you said that, because it was Jack that unlocked me when he was talking about light on my podcast, and he said, well, there's everybody knows there's like a global initiative to get us all blocked away from as much sunlight as possible. But I'm like, wait, Jack, stop. Are you talking about the lines in the sky right now? He's like, you're damn right I am. Like, what, you haven't seen those with your own eyes? I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's just crazy stuff.
It is. I mean, I suppose I'm asking myself, who thinks like that? Like,
so this comes back to Dominic Cummings.
Okay,
This
you better
crazy
explain
bastard.
who Dominic Cummings is.
He was the guy that helped basically Boris get elected, and he's the Cambridge Analytica guy.
But
that was the
I thought he worked for the government.
Well, he worked for the government, but he contracted. He, as far as I'm aware, and again, people please fact check, I don't think he's an MP. I don't think he's ever been a politician.
Yeah. A bit of an Alistair Campbell type.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean? Not a politician, but works.
Yes.
He's a, like a PR guy or a whatever. All right, whatever.
So do you remember the Cambridge you remember Brexit, how the country was just divided perfectly, 50-50 on the whole vote. And it was the grey vote versus the young vote, and this, that, and the other thing, and divided families. And this is back to the algorithms. This is what Cambridge Analytica were doing primarily through Facebook, because Facebook was still the big thing back in.
Facebook commissioned them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they commissioned them to basically do some stuff to steer people in a certain direction.
Right, and that was all masterminded by Cummings.
Social engineering, do they call that?
Yes, social engineering.
Right.
And this was all masterminded by Cummings. Which was very well documented by Carol Cadwallader, who was the reporter at The Guardian at the time that released all of this data.
Was it his company, Cummings' company? No. But who did he work for? Them, or was he working for the government?
Working for the government.
And he commissioned Cambridge Analytica.
What was it called in code? Like the nudge unit. So think of like the original nudge unit. So that the government are looking for a certain outcome, i.e. Brexit. But they want to get.
Well, they were looking. Well, they were looking for not Brexit, right?
Well, nobody knew, did they? Because he was saying one thing and doing the other.
Really?
Boris, do you remember? He was flip-flopping on the whole
thing.
thing.
No, but you're right. Gosh, Boris, I'm thinking. Oh yeah, God knows.
So,
seems like so long ago, doesn't it? But it wasn't that long ago.
Exactly. So what do they want? If the outcome is that let's say they want Brexit, right? The best outcome they could ever get is a 49-51% split, because that keeps you and I divided. And if you and I are divided with all of our families and all of our communities, that means we're infighting against each other and not looking up to the actual top. And everyone is begging the actual top to say, oh, just shut those people up and don't let it happen. And we just need to get someone else in and then we'll all be fine again and blah, blah, blah. So perfect. That's what they got. Now, Cummings then was found to have orchestrated all of this. And he was even, what do they call it? Deposition. I think he had to face the court and answer all of this through Cadwallader's work. And then kind of disappeared and reappeared and was funded to found ARIA, which was his brainchild. ARIA stands for Advanced Research Institute. I can't remember the last A. But it was modeled on DARPA in the US, which is the defense kind of black ops
intelligence
agency, yes, that does all of this weather control stuff. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they would be embroiled with. So Cummings wanted the equivalent in the UK, and ARIA is the acronym for that. Again, people, please double check this. ARIA, Dominic Cummings. You'll get a lot of answers. He was funded with £800 million. This is not a governmental organisation.
Who was it? Peter Thiel.
Who funded it?
Who?
Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer.
But with taxpayer money?
Yes.
Right.
But it's not a government organisation. It has very little oversight. It seems like it was a bit of a sweetener to Cummings. Okay. If you're conspiratorially minded.
Which you are.
Which I just like to say I'm joining the dots.
That's what they all say.
So now, how do we find out what ARIA are up to? Well, you can't. You go to their website and it's very airy-fairy and this, that, and the other thing, whatever. Just recently, within the last 6 months, and we're recording now, August 2025, there was a huge petition that went around the UK, and it was simply named "Ban all forms of geoengineering in the United Kingdom." If you get 10,000 signatures on any of these petitions, it has to, there's two levels. It has to be acknowledged. 100,000, it has to be discussed or debated in Parliament. It has to go to the floor. So it flew past 100,000 in a matter of, I think it was under a week. So I was watching this very closely, and I wanted to see the kind of questions that were being asked. And they had the usual goons in there, and people did ask a question, and I think it was Miliband that was up there kind of batting it back. One person that was grilling Miliband about it is like, so wait a minute, 1 second. You're going to tell me that we've all got to start giving up farmland to solar farms so we can get more energy, but at the same time you're attempting to block the sun. What are you actually doing? And it was you'll find that on YouTube as well. But the official response from the government, when you went on, so you go to the, I'll send you the link so you can put it in the show notes. You go to the petition page, and then the petition page has the official response from the government, and you have to expand it. And you read it all the way through, and we deny that this is going on, this isn't going on, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. And then the final paragraph is, well, that isn't to say that ARIA, ARIA, we acknowledge the fact that ARIA are running geoengineering projects under their mandate or this, that, and the other thing, whatever, to cool the planet.
Really?
No way. And then there is more, and then you'll find actually there was £57 million of the ARIA budget attributed to running projects to block the sun in the UK. And this is documented in the BBC and all of the other newspapers. And this is where it just starts getting really freaking crazy, because you're like, what? These lunatics actually believe. Look, I don't believe this tech works. I don't I think it's absolute, complete and utter nonsensical, because what I think actually happens, it warms the planet, because as you know, if there's cloud cover, it's warmer on the ground than when it isn't. When you've got a really beautiful, dark, starry sky, it's cold outside. Everybody knows that. You know it. You've sat under the stars, like next to your campfire. That's the way it works. So again, what they're telling us doesn't make any sense at all. But what you'll see is, when you see these crisscross patterns appear over the sky, and now we've talked about this, and hopefully listeners listening to it, they might start seeing this over the next 2 or 3 months. What's going to happen is, slowly, over the next 6 hours or so, they're going to slowly spread. And that's going to cause like a weird silver lining, right? We're back to that.
It doesn't make clouds then. It
doesn't
just
make
creates
clouds.
some invisible barrier there.
Exactly. And when you see it, you're like, yeah, I just thought that was overcast. And this is the thing. You just think it's overcast.
I don't understand, though, why that's not being made public, because it's a climate change thing. The government love bloody climate change. Why aren't they saying we're doing all this work to...
For your... Why are they only just saying it now?
Oh, are they saying
That's
that?
what they're saying now.
Oh, right.
That's what they're saying. What they're saying now is we are actively pursuing ways to reflect the sun. So this is only one method. The other method they do is called marine cloud brightening, where they'll have boats, huge boats, go out with great big tanks and just blow like fake cloud up into the atmosphere. And I don't know if you've ever watched. There's a clip, just Jeremy Clarkson, NASA weather control. And it's a clip from the early 90s where he does a documentary on how NASA are creating rain clouds with this exact technology that they use out on boats, marine cloud brightening technology, in order to reflect the sun back away from the planet. So they find all of these clever ways to like deliver it to the public without actually telling you, exactly what's going on.
But what's the conspiracy there, though? What's the real, tinfoil hat conspiracy? Because you could argue that that's just stupid people, stupid scientists, stupid government people.
With all of this stuff, follow the money. Now most people are probably thinking, oh, he's going to say, yeah, so we all get dumbed down and they can control us. And
that's what I mean.
It's the aliens and whatever else. There is an element of that to it, because as anybody knows listening to this, do you feel better on a bright, sunny, beautiful day than you do if it's just like overcast and a little bit drizzly and whatever else? But if you follow the money, and again, reading Kirby's book took me down these rabbit holes. We are talking hundreds of billions of dollars. If you can control the weather, you first of all, the Iranian president very, very famously, I think he might have been unalived in a plane crash or something since, but he very famously said something along the lines of, the United States of America have stolen our rainwater. So again, please go and check that. You just Google that and you'll find it, and very widely reported. So it brings us back to weather warfare. But if you follow the money as well, you have big ag, right? Huge amounts of money tied up in big ag. Like you're talking vast amounts of soybean crops, corn crops, wheat crops, and whatever. So what do they need? Well, they need water and they need sunlight. So why would that be of interest if somebody could control the outcome of another country's crop or harvest? Now you can see where all of this lunacy starts driving.
But we're doing it to ourselves, though. You were talking about, we're trying to deflect the sun. Mm. And that's obviously having an effect on our crops as well, because crops need sun.
100% is.
So, what I'm saying, where's the conspiracy? Is the conspiracy just some people in government trying to do what's right or what they think's right, or is it the lizard people, or whatever?
No, I think it's people. If you take it all the way back, again, look, I can't answer you. because it is so complex and it is so layered, and we're decades and decades into this. I think there's a few things going on. I think you have the what I just explained, follow the money, and there's another element to follow the money. And I didn't even know this, and I worked in financial markets, and I saw Enron go down. Most people listening to this are going to remember the collapse of Enron. Enron were running a weather derivatives market. I had no idea this existed.
Weather derivatives?
Weather derivatives.
Like, so literally betting on what's going to happen.
You've got Wall Street betting on the weather. And the weather derivatives are directly correlated to commodity derivatives. So you've got the huge commodity markets. You remember the old videos, Trading Places you've probably watched, whether you're in the wheat pit or you're in the corn pit or whatever else. We are talking hundreds of billions of dollars of this market. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, if you are a company that has an open position on a particular crop in a particular place, and that's going to be very much in your interest if it should happen to not rain in that place for the next 2 months, would you be incentivized to pay a company, a cloud seeding company or something or similar, a weather control company to fly these missions over there? Now, coming back to the Bitcoiners that took me down this rabbit hole, one of them was South African, and Rick the Free, big shout out.
Rick the Freak.
The Free.
Rick the Free, okay.
Yeah. So he told me he grew up in a very rural area in South Africa and around farmers all the time. And it was his father that explained to him that the insurance and reinsurance industry, now we're following the money again, they would pay companies, private companies, to perform cloud seeding operations in certain parts of the country to make sure there was rain on the crops that they had insured so they wouldn't have to pay out the premium if the crops failed. Fucking hell. Like this, you see how the dominoes start falling. So when Enron collapsed, I can't remember who bought that whole business out. It was probably one of the big, like JP Morgan, I don't know, whatever. But they took over like that whole weather derivative market. So we like I said, like you can't pin it on one thing, but that's not to say it isn't happening. And individually,
you can see these things are obviously happening or whatever if you check the sources. I think the bit where a lot of people trip up is why they're happening. Mm-hmm. And the conspiracy side of it. I think the main conspiracy that ties all these things together is there's a secret government running the world, isn't there? That's the kind of that's the big boss one. Yeah. And I don't know what I think about it. I kind of, because I'm trying to think of it in terms of incentives, that whole secret societies and people running the world thing. It obviously makes sense because within your friend group you do a similar thing. Like we're all Bitcoiners, and you say your daughter needs a job, and someone else goes, "Oh yeah, I'll sort you out, mate." That happens on our level.
Of course.
So that's going to happen at every level. That's going to happen at the trillionaire level, and the trillionaires have access to a lot more of everything than we do. So if a trillionaire wants to do something really dastardly, they probably can. So I could see that that's not a conspiracy. That's people doing business. And I often think that a lot of very wealthy and powerful people spend a lot of their days conspiring to maintain a powerful position. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, it's like risk analysis. It's like, what do we do to, and one of those things might well be keeping people oppressed.
Yeah.
Because if you're wealthy, the one thing that really gets in your way is people, isn't it? You can isolate yourself to a degree, but we all know what happens when people get angry. Mm-hmm. They mob together and they tend to kill, or they tend to go after the people that they think are the ones who have got everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like risk analysis. It's like, right, in order to maintain these positions of privilege, I suppose. I don't know.
And how do you do that? Through monopolization, right? So you crush as much of the competition that you possibly can.
Yeah.
And so that's basically crony capitalism. Is exactly what you just explained.
Yeah. But the thing where the thing that a lot of people are interested in, and I am actually, if I'm honest, really interested in, is the other stuff, the kind of the Alex Jones stuff. Because interestingly, Alex Jones is an interesting character, right? We all know for a long time he was considered completely crazy. But there was a big signal that happened in the world that made me realise that possibly he's not as crazy as they think, and that was when he got cancelled. Like, why do you cancel someone that crazy? Like, it seems illogical. You're basically almost alluding to the fact that he's telling the truth, right? And obviously, a lot of what Alex Jones says is true. He's a bit like David Icke, the same. A lot of what he says is kind of provably true. Where they both fall down, but actually where they both agree as well, is that the people running it, I mean, Alex Jones, in a similar way, he says it's interdimensional beings. Which is actually what the same as what, and then, so the big boss is like, and even like Tucker Carlson now. I mean, Tucker Carlson's I suppose what you would call a legit journalist, formally at least. And he said, I heard him say the other day, it's a battle between good and evil in a very spiritual sense. And he said, I don't need to know any more than that. All I know is it's a spiritual battle. Which is kind of like, I think, exactly the same thing that David Icke's been saying for a long time. And that's the kind of big boss conspiracy, I think, the one that when you, no matter what you look at, because all these things individually, like you say, you can analyse and say, yeah, that's true, I've seen that, we can prove that. But the one thing it's very hard to prove is it interdimensional beings cause, creating a matrix that keeps us,
keeps us in
trapped.
the simulation or
whatever. Yeah.
I've not gone down those rabbit holes, mate.
You've got those ones to come.
Yeah.
Do you know what the best one is? Right.
Go on.
Do you know this is just there's a bit of old footage on the internet of there's a guy who worked at Area 51, Lazar. What's his name? He's one of the only real proven defectors from Area 51. You know what Area 51 is. Yeah. And, I can't remember. His surname's got a Z in it. I'm sure of it. Anyway. And he was being interviewed, and it's pretty grainy footage. It's probably from the 80s or 90s. I don't know. And he was being pushed on something because he said something along the lines of, look, I've seen this classified document. And he said, but I can't even tell you it. It's just so ridiculous. You're just going to say I'm absolutely crazy. And I'm not going to say it anyway. And he kind of tries to brush it aside. And this bloke pins him on it. And he says, all right, I'll tell you. But just realise this, right? I'm telling you this in pure truth. But you're going to tell me I'm crazy. And he said that this document said that, it's extremely classified, said that all religions basically had been invented in order to try and keep people's bodies in good condition, i.e. don't kill, don't maim, don't fight, or whatever. But they were creating a moral framework to try and protect human bodies, because humans were basically just vessels for souls. So they were being used as a sort of like holding ground. So we are being used as a holding ground for our soul. And our soul is some very important thing that someone else is basically kind of like farming, right? Which is, when you look at the Alex Jones stuff, the David Icke stuff, it's kind of the same thing. And this was a guy, an absolutely normal scientist type guy, the guy that he also broke the story about like them having sort of alien technology and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's probably, I hate to say it, but there might well be some truth in it. I've got absolutely no idea. All I know is that many things that used to be completely outlandish are now absolutely provably true. And so why wouldn't the next one? And also, many of the things that we now talk about, like the fact that there's a genuinely large number of very reputable people who say we're living in a simulation. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's not crazy to sit there and debate whether or not this is a simulation. You know, this is now normal for people. Now, either that's a psyop and that's all there to confuse us and to, because it does, when you go into all this stuff, it does have a bit of a numbing effect on you, doesn't it? Because it's like, you talking to me about all this stuff, I'm like, by the end of it, I'm like, well, yeah, maybe it is true. What am I going to do about it? You know, what am I going to do about chemtrails? What am I going to do about like cloud seeding? I don't know, you know. But yeah, my money, if I'm truly honest, deep down, is on the interdimensional stuff. There you go. I've said it.
Love it, mate.
But like I will never pursue it with my whole heart. A bit like I think that's probably true. But why bother pursuing it? I'm just going to carry on living my life. There's not much I feel like worth doing. But I do believe in that. I do believe in a spiritual aspect of everything, and I do believe that in the same way that people oppress each other here, I think as above, so below, or it's happening everywhere. This battle of power, of freedom versus control, happens everywhere. And when you see the cloud seeding stuff, yeah, sure, it's like it's the last kind of end of the tentacle of control. You know, possibly it's that same force trying to control. There's, I think, at least people like you and me, we're the freedom people, really. We want freedom for ourselves and everyone we can see. But there are people who are the complete opposite of that, and I've met some of them. They don't. They want to control you. It's as strong an urge as me wanting you to live free and have the best time. Is as strong the urge to do the complete opposite, and it's probably the cycle of life there. It's the yin and the yang. We're always going to be fighting that battle. You know, we're probably, I don't know. Maybe I'm that's it now. Give us those glasses, mate. Yeah. But no, I mean, I would, if I would, it's hard. It's not that I would wholeheartedly, you know, advocate for any of this stuff. But if you gave me the option to bet on it, I would bet that that's true. You know, but you know, it would be like I would make a bet. I wouldn't make a large bet on it. I wouldn't lose all my money on it. But it's
so we're just souls running around in our meat suits, right? That's basically what you're saying, and I'm completely on board with that. Yeah,
but what's interesting about a theory like that is when you look back at religious texts, you know, most religions speak roughly in the same terms about life. And you can, I know, you know, the battle of good and evil is kind of a pretty old meme when you think about it. So is, you know, I don't know who we were talking to the other day. We were talking about things that happened in the year 2000. You remember, like...
Oh, right. What you thought was going to happen.
No, not even that. I mean, like the return of Christ, for example, you know, or the coming of... the return of the Messiah, and
I thought we were all going to have flying cars.
Well, what's a flying car, mate? We're probably about to have flying cars. Actually, I think the technology is probably about to absolutely increase at an exponential rate, isn't it? Oh, I've forgotten what I was talking about now.
Souls.
Oh yeah. But yeah, there are many things that. For example, if you look back historically, some people have often described mythology and spirituality as anything that was void of some kind of scientific discovery. It's an ever decreasing bubble. Spirituality is an ever decreasing bubble of what we actually know about the world compared to what we think we know. So in the past, it's raining. Oh my God, that's the rain gods or whatever. That's the brutal past. Now that side of spirituality has obviously had to disappear because we know it's people seeding the clouds.
Yeah.
But there are lots of things which most of the main religions and spiritual traditions have said, like, very common one, we're all one. Actually, this is all a bit of a myth and a dream, and you and me, we're actually all one. And what are we doing now? We're creating an internet. We're basically connecting ourselves all up together, and we're only probably 20 years away from implanting that inside our own bodies, so that we're all connected, literally, telepathically, God knows what. A lot of those sort of things that the traditions, I don't know where I'm going with this now, but there could be an element of truth in it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm confusing myself now, which is exactly what's supposed to happen when you get into bloody conspiracy theories, isn't it?
Now, I just did a very long episode with another Bitcoiner who goes by the name of Red Tail Hawk. And it's the third time I've had him on the show. And on this particular episode, he was talking about reincarnation. So the idea of souls, the idea of that, your body is just a vehicle for the soul. And he linked this all back to the ancient Egyptians. And he theorizes that the sarcophagus in the Grand Pyramid, or all pyramids actually around the world, and you can find pyramids all around the world, it's not just Egypt, that they were a form of what you'd know now as like a sensory deprivation tank, which people will go and pay to do, right? And in those tanks you have Epsom salts, I believe, which gives you a certain amount of buoyancy, and there's all the good nutrients and magnesium and whatever else that soaks in, and this is the idea. And then you close the lid and you're in complete and utter total darkness, and it's just you with yourself. And he theorizes that this is what the ancient Egyptians were doing to reach their higher selves and open up their third eyes, or whatever they call it. Now,
that works, actually. That sensory deprivation thing does actually work.
You've done it?
No, I've done versions of it.
Right.
But like it does work, as does sitting in a cave for 2 weeks and not seeing light for 2 weeks and things like that.
Right.
Once you take away those things, your sensitivities. I've done it with food as well. I fasted once for 10 days, just drinking water.
Wow.
And by the third or fourth day, the actual pain of wanting to eat just disappears. And by the sort of sixth or seventh day, you are hyper aware. And funnily enough, by the 10th day, because I started doing it with 4 friends and all 3 of the other 3 dropped out. And by the end, it was just me. And like, this was in Thailand years ago. And I realized, well, what I thought, which is obviously me, I was probably a little bit insane at the time, but that I didn't need to eat anymore. I was like, I didn't, I thought, why go back to eating? And actually, the reason I went back after 10 days was because I missed the social aspect of sitting around and eating. Mm-hmm. But I really did believe that I don't need to eat anymore. I'm fine. I was super vibrant. I was really like very aware of everything, super switched on, and I think the same thing happens when you deprive yourself of a lot of things. It kind of, you don't realize just how much food is really dumbing you down and weighing you down, and sort of like this quagmire of, it desensitizes you.
So if deprivation of certain things heightens our senses, what are we depriving ourselves of today?
Well, I mean, I would say lots of things like light, EMFs, where I live, there's no Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
Unless I switch it on, right? And I like that because I've heard a few things about Wi-Fi not being good for you. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, Jesus, I just come here. If you turn your phone on, mate, there are 50 Wi-Fi networks here right now. Is that good for you?
No, it's definitely not good.
Right, but so, I mean, do you feel it? I not necessarily feel it, I don't think, but
we're feeling it at a cellular level. But some people are hyper. There's a great book on this. It's called The Invisible Rainbow, and he was what you'd call like hypersensitive. And Furstenberg, I think his name is, and I've put onto this book by a couple of other Bitcoiners and Jack Cruz as well. And he talks about like the what we're surrounded by right now. Yeah, you've got Wi-Fi boxes above
Everywhere,
us, below
everywhere.
us, next to us.
You can see
all
it
over
on
the
my
place.
phone.
It's wild. And then
But the point is, I'm worried about one Wi-Fi network where I live, which switches off at 10 o'clock every evening and turns on at 8, because I think, while we're asleep, probably not a good idea. And then I'm sleeping here. There's probably 14 Wi-Fi networks blasting my brain with something. And what's his name? Kennedy in the US.
Yeah.
He does actually say that. Now he's a lawyer / high up in the government,
Yep.
and he says, "Yeah, Wi-Fi's bad for you."
Yep.
Like, why wouldn't I believe him necessarily? Why would I believe the Wi-Fi company that says it's fine? It's fine, bro.
It ain't fine. No, it's definitely bad for you. And the non-native EMFs are shockingly bad for you, and it can be linked to all kinds of like modern day problems. ADHD being one of them, because you're just hyper the whole time. Cancers, obviously, another big one. I don't know how you fight it, other than you can wear EMF blocking clothing now. You can find that, yeah.
So it's not just your brain; it's like your body.
Yeah, like you're at the cellular level, all over your body is being perturbed, mate. There's a great Twitter, another Bitcoiner called it's just Rusty on Twitter. He's an Indian guy. He does a lot of great visuals and education about what's going on. Like the smart meters in the UK. Like those things are emitting like ridiculous amounts of non-native EMFs into the atmosphere, and you get forced into putting those in your house. And it's not just so we can you can save money on how much electric. Like they don't care about that. That's the last thing they care about. So what are the other reasons that they're doing it? So
I don't know. Once again, I come back to isn't that just people making the technology? Like, I don't know. What's your stance on the big conspiracy? True or not? Like, is I mean, is there a secret government running the world, or a secret group of people?
I think it's very overt. You have the Bilderberg Group, you have the Club of Rome, you have the WEF. These are all like the very much they want the same thing.
But as in one world government?
Yeah, world governance, yeah. Which is weird when you think about Bitcoin being a global currency. Yeah. But they can't control that.
Do you want to hear something weird, mate?
Yep.
First conversation I had when I came here. I've been on this interesting journey recently. We bought our new place, and we couldn't afford to buy it what we wanted done up. So we bought, as we've always done, as we get higher and higher up the property ladder, we buy something and do it up. For the first time in my new house, I was looking around the other day thinking, what's the point in doing this up? What is the point? What's the point in ploughing money into this, which could end up being a liability for me? Plus, obviously, if I had spare money, there's no way I would put it into property. And it made, what I thought? You will have nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
Right. But there's an element of that going on. It's true. I mean, it's not that you will have nothing, it's that you will have Bitcoin and be happy. But really, I was a bit worried. I'm like, am I agreeing with Klaus here? Is this a good thing? Because it makes more sense to rent a house and have none of the responsibility or bullshit. Because really, owning a house is a bit of a scam. That's another rabbit hole to go down, probably, especially now. House prices don't go up, your money devalues, and I'm not even sure they beat inflation. And the cost of upkeeping a house is massive. And by the time you sell it and pay the tax and blah, 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 how much actually, the myth that, property is a great investment, probably not true. So yeah, maybe they're on something. I've always thought, right, yeah, you will own nothing and be happy is bad because you need to own stuff. You're an individual, you should own things. But what Bitcoin is doing is making you realize there's nothing else worth owning because it can all become a liability to you, really. In this day and age, like things in the real world, especially big things that don't move like houses, are actually a ball and chain around you. But that's a scary thought, because that is quite similar to what the World Economic Forum want you to think.
Yes. So this brings us on to allodial title. And you spell that word Allodial. And this is another rabbit hole if you want to go down it.
Allodial title.
Allodial title.
Oh my God.
So
I'm going to guess what it is. It's like we don't own anything anyway.
You don't own anything.
Right, okay, yeah, I guessed
Nothing.
it.
Yeah, you've got
Come on, let's hear it.
So allodial title, basically, the definition is, you have true and complete ownership over the thing. That is allodial title. That is yours and no question. And the only thing we can have true allodial title over today is Bitcoin. Right. If we're talking about investable assets, is Bitcoin. So, and this is where it gets pretty dark, because people are going to think, well, I own my house. You're like, well, most people probably have a mortgage on their house. So that means, in essence, the bank owns the house. You just have a claim on the property, and you are the registered keeper of that property. Most people are going to say, well, I bought my car. If you've not used a loan agreement, then I went out and I bought that car for £10,000 from the dealer with cash. That's my car. Well, the first thing that dealer does is change the V5 form for you. If you're in the UK, it depends what country you're in. The form is going to get filled out, and that is going to be registered in the course of in the case of the UK with the DVLA. You registered the car with the DVLA. It even says black and white on your V5 form that you are the registered keeper. You're not the owner.
Yeah, you're right, registered keeper.
They are the owner of the car.
Really?
You are the registered keeper.
Is that what it means?
And you are, yes, and you are the driver. And this comes under the Universal Commercial Code, because everything we've been trapped into doing is under commercial code. You are a business, Tim Allen, in all capitals, because when you were born, your mother and father did the right thing that they thought they were doing. And when you were born in what's called a foundling hospital, which is a jurisdiction of the state, they filled out a birth certificate. And that birth certificate, they registered your birth. And when they registered their birth, they registered you over to the state. So this is why the state believes that all of us are chattel, which is another word for cattle. So you will own nothing and be happy is already here.
But in reality, no one's claiming ownership over me or my children, are they?
No,
and
not
also,
until social services turn up on your door because you've not been following the rules, or you've tried to homeschool, or you've tried to take them out.
But those people don't know about allodial. Sorry, what's it called?
Allodial titles.
They don't know about allodial titles. They just know that the state is bigger than you and that they've got more power.
So so this is something that people will be able to latch onto. If you want to, in the UK, again, sorry, this is very UK specific, but we're both from that country, and this is what we know. And people have probably seen these headlines. But if you want to take your child out of school, if you sent your child to state school, you register at the state school, so they are registered again. You've given up that agency over them. They are now under the school's rules. That's why you can't take them out 2 days before the summer holidays start without being fined, because you've registered. You are not their owners. They are owned by that institution. This is so dark.
But once again, like, it's all very well, but try taking that to court and saying I own your kids. It's like, no, you don't. No jury's gonna say, yeah, that's true, are they? They might say.
How is it social services take kids off families all the time?
Well, they would justify it because the kids are being. I'm not sure they evoke the allodial
title. No, because you don't.
I mean, you yourself have had people come around to your house in France and a number of times, right?
Social services, yes.
Yeah, because you homeschool your kids.
Yes.
I mean, that is insane.
It completely insane. Because for us to, when we first moved to France, we wanted to get the kids immersed. The whole idea, the whole reason dare I say, the raison d'être for us to live in France was to get the kids speaking another language. Claire and I, we decided if we could give our kids the ultimate gift, what would it be? It would be the ability for them to speak another language, be bilingual at the very minimum. If they're bilingual, that's probably going to unlock a whole different part of their brain. So we decided we were home swapping in house sitting in France at the time. We'd been there for 3 months. We loved it. We had a great time. We just got a long-term rental. We stayed for a year, then we stayed for another year, and we get the kids into the local, there was a nice Montessori school. Still, you had to do all the registration process and all of this stuff. So even with a British passport, you go in and you sign the forms. I didn't know this at the time. I've only learned this recently. But so, I'm registering them now to a French state institution. So I've moved them from my complete ownership because nobody knew. We'd been traveling for 2.5 years. Nobody knew where we lived. Nobody knew where we come from. It wasn't in any kind of jurisdictional nonsense. And they'd been around us for like the last 2.5 years. The births actually had been registered in Singapore, and now we were in France, but with a British passport. So, like, just weird family, But then you sign all those papers, and then they become under the beady eye of the French state. So when it came to us wanting to take them out of school during COVID, because we were not down with sending them into school to stand 2 meters apart from each other and wear a mask and all of this kind of nonsense, and they could speak French by then anyway. We're like, no, you're out. You're going on to an online school, and you're all done. You'll keep the language up. You've still got your French friends. You could go to the birthday parties, horse riding, football, whatever it was you're doing. But then to come out of that system is very difficult. Now you have to start all of the paperwork, and this is where the state stand around their little state bots, known as social services, to come and visit. It's like, well, what kind of family are you? And they'll have this whole checklist of things that they've got to check off. Do they have the tools available to them? Do they have a place to sit with a desk? Do they have access to a computer? Look, all of this kind of basic stuff. Well, they'll come around and go through this checklist and then leave again. Now, they were very nice people, and that's great. And they came and they saw, and we had very good conversations with them. And we were in a small enough town where we actually knew some of the social workers, because I worked out with one of the ladies at the gym.
That's embarrassing, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. But now, that's not to say that if you have the wrong kind of people with some kind of power complex that come around and say, what are these British people doing, living in our countryside, taking up one of our houses? You can just imagine the kind of thought processes that might go through somebody else's head. Like, these are not fit parents to homeschool, therefore we're going to make life difficult for them, therefore this is going to happen, therefore you get served a notice, kids back in the school within 2 weeks, or else they will be taken. And this is the kind of stuff that's written actually out in the forms that get sent to you. So
how many times do they come around?
Twice. They would do like 18-month visits, I think.
Just to check that you are... Like what? To check what? To check, think about it.
I guess the edge cases are, you're abusing the children, or they're starving in the corner, or whatever.
But they're not there to check that. They're probably there to check that you're educating them, right?
Yes, and that had to be done. This was a big problem.
Did you? But yeah, that's a good question actually. Mm-hmm. Were you allowed to just teach them however you wanted? No. Mm-hmm. So even as a homeschooler, you had to teach the way they wanted you to.
This is why we don't live there anymore, because the kids would be invited, let's say summoned, to a once a year control examination, where they would be interrogated, for want of a better word, by 5 different teachers. There'd be a geography, history guy. There'd be
testing their knowledge and stuff.
Language, maths, science. And one else, which is escaping me right now. It will come back to me. And they would have to go with all the homeschool kids from the department would have to go. And they would all turn up, and you've got to take the tools and the textbooks and things that you are using to teach at home, and they expected you to follow the exact curriculum, like buy the exact textbooks. Really? So when we turn up, we're like, well, here's their laptops and here's all the stuff that we do with them, and it's all like, oh no, we need the paper, and they're very much like
what they expect you to study the same books just at home.
Yes.
Highly regarded.
Yes.
That's completely regarded. I can't say the word. It's my podcast.
Right.
But come on.
And if you fail that control, which our kids did because they weren't doing the thing, then you would be invited back to get a second chance. So we were having all of this to and fro and paperwork going, mate.
Did you
power user of Google
Did
Translate.
you get them to sort of like just learn a load of crap and take some books in then?
So we would just prep for, the week. It was like classic exam prep. Like a week and a half before, it's like, right, let's just get knuckled down now. Let's do areas. Let's do Pythagoras. Let's do this, that. For math.
You're practically at school at that point, aren't you?
Exactly. You're just subjecting them to the
what
same
you're trying
stuff. And then you would
man.
turn up, and in front of that. So Lauren was just absolutely grilled by this old hag of a biology teacher. She was really awful, and Lauren's French is very, very good, even though you can still pick up on the accent, and you know that you're speaking to. And so, first of all, the parents were allowed to sit there, but you weren't allowed to say anything.
Wow, that must have hurt.
Just ridiculous. And these are the rules. And I even started talking once, and the teacher told me off for speaking, and no, I'm speaking to, and I'm like, you people are so far gone.
Oh, God.
So when you're dealing with these people, if you're dealing with a 45-year-old teacher, you're dealing with somebody that hasn't left that institution since the age of 5. They're gone. You are literally talking to an agent Smith. And they might be there for all the best intentions, but they just don't understand the programming that they're going through and the pain and the trauma that they're putting the kids through. The fact that we had to drive an hour there, out of our way, and all of the cramming that they've done before. So anyway, she's sitting there with, I remember this vividly, she's sitting there with the textbook in front of her, the full-on beautiful color textbook. She hands Lauren a photocopied page from this textbook and starts asking her questions about photosynthesis. And she knew it. We'd gone through photosynthesis, isn't that hard? And then at the bottom of the page, there were 2 pictures. There was a picture of a dead plant and a picture of an alive plant. And the question was simply, which plant is alive? So Lauren just said...
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Lauren just said, the picture's black and white. They both look the same.
Oh, right. I thought you meant one was shriveled up on...
Right. So, clearly that one is, the better one, but, you can't tell the photosynthesis process because of the black and white picture. And that pissed the teacher off.
Oh, no.
And then she starts, really getting dialed down into her and asking her very, very difficult questions to the point where she got up and walked away after the 15 minutes interrogation and just lost it, just cried, just broke down. And it was at that point that Claire and I decided, well, again, this comes back to, stepping in as parents, having ownership over your children. Yeah. And we called across the directrice, and we're like, this is completely uncalled for. Look, why is my daughter standing in the middle of this auditorium in tears? This doesn't happen at home. I bring her into this institution and look at this. This is what is being bred.
What did they say?
Come back for the next test because she hasn't passed it. That was the paperwork that come through. Now she was very the lady at the time, the directrice. She was very comforting. Oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Blah 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 blah. Very human touch. But then that human touch gets completely lost when the marking gets passed to the next bureaucracy level, and that bureaucracy level writes out all of the reports, and that gets passed to the next bureaucracy level, and they're the ones that send out the summons. Mate, it was, people think, look, I'm just saying, no country's perfect, and there is no utopia anywhere for us all to escape to. As much as I would love to think the free cities are doing the groundwork for us all to find the perfect citadel, And maybe that is, well, even Honduras faced its problems, and hopefully that's all getting
It
sorted
does
out.
appear to be turning around, yes.
Amazing.
A massive amount of investment, which arguably was coming anyway. The government are almost certainly on their way out in September, October time, I think. But I hear what you're saying. I don't think free cities fix this. I think because what I think fixes it is competition, governance competition. That's what I think fixes it. And because I think free cities can be whatever you want. You could get terrible places and you can get great places. The point is you need some kind of freedom to choose and to opt in and to decide where you want to be. And obviously living in a place where they knock on your door because your kids aren't at school is not the kind of place you want to live. I mean, you did the right thing. You voted with your feet, but I would say you walked out of the frying pan into the fire. Really?
We'll see what happens for the next few years.
Well, well, let's talk about that. Look, we should wrap it up soon. We should be going out for dinner, which we are, and I'm coming with you. Okay. Right. What do you do though? Like, what's your plan long term? You don't have to give it away, but how are you thinking about all this? Because I think about it all the time, and things are changing. And I'm looking at the UK again, thinking, "Oh my God!" And I'm almost feeling. Do you remember that? Do you remember during COVID when people were going insane and telling you insane things to your face and stopping you from going into shops and stuff? And I'm seeing the little twinges of the insanity coming back. I'm going online and I can't access a website unless I get round it with a VPN, and things like that. I know, but so what are you thinking? I have my thoughts about what the long-term strategy is and stuff. What about you?
I just think we have to stay nimble. I think having that, this is the beauty of Bitcoin. I mean, it was inevitable we'd talk deeper about Bitcoin. I think that's the true opt out, right? That is control, right? We're coming back to this idea of control. Is there people trying to socially engineer us into doing certain things? Undoubtedly, yes. We know that for a fact. That's not a conspiracy. If people haven't figured that out through going through like the lockdowns and all the nudge units and everything else, the propaganda that was globally coerced, I don't think anybody with a right mind can turn around and say, no, that was just, what are you talking about? Like, that was the conspiracy theory of all theories, right? Now, how do we conspire together to get the whole globe locked down and taking medical shots?
You're right. It is, isn't it? There weren't many places left that didn't get.
No.
Yeah.
So we are talking about pure social engineering, and what's the best way? There are the two most effective levers to socially engineer people is through money, because medium of exchange is what makes the world go round. Like, our species wouldn't be where it is today if we had not fallen upon the discovery of using a medium of exchange to communicate value to each other. And this happened way back in the caveman times, right? We were sitting around the bonfire telling stories and doing bartering and whatever else. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like if we use this beautiful, scarce looking, portable, durable thing as a medium of exchange, then maybe that will explode global trade. And sure as shit, it did. So without medium of exchange, we are nothing. And we have that medium of exchange that we're forced to use, fiat currency. And you and I have to use the pound. Others have to use the euro. Others have to use the dollar or the yen. And that is just an incredibly effective way to socially engineer people into doing things that they necessarily wouldn't do. Follow the incentives, misaligned incentives. We talked about this. How do you close down a bunch of businesses and create more monopolies and wealth at the top? Well, I don't know. Should we lock everybody down and cripple supply chains and then pump as much money into the system as we can possibly get away with? So you collapse the amount of goods and services in the economy, at the same time raising the amount of money, fiat currencies, in the economy. What's going to happen? You're going to cause like this huge inflation of prices. Wages won't keep up with that. You've literally socially engineered people into feeling the desperation that they currently feel at the moment, and they don't know where to look. And now you're getting the internet shut down on people in the UK, and you're getting all of this social engineering coming through the algorithms of your, in air quotes, social media platforms. And like, this is happening. And the other way that you can control and socially engineer people is through the education system, because if you take a boy, give me a boy until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man, is what Socrates said. And sure, we're giving our kids up to these entities younger and younger. And that is away from the family unit. That is a traumatic experience, giving your child up. The child doesn't know. Little Johnny doesn't know that he's 4.5 on a Wednesday and then 5 on a Tuesday, and that means he's got to go to school come September. And he wakes up one morning on a Monday, he's wearing shit, he has no idea. Why in the hell am I wearing this stuff? What's this bag on my back? Why am I in the car at 8 a.m.? At this door with this strange people, and like, who are all these other 100 freaks? Like, you can't, it doesn't matter how many weeks in advance you tell little Johnny, oh, you're going to big boy school on Monday. Monday isn't a thing in that little kid's mind. It doesn't add up. So that is a traumatic experience. And then you are just programmed through that next 15 years. So these are the two tools. So if we can opt out both of those, then we start recreating society, and you give yourself way better to communicate value with each other again. Like, it takes it way back to the basics here. So opting out, stop using their money, and stop giving your kids up at the altar,
and stay nimble. Because I think that's really good advice. I think over the not necessarily forever, but certainly. If ever there was a time to be nimble, it would be over the next sort of 30 years, you would imagine, or something. I don't know. It does feel like the time to be on your toes, doesn't it? And not embedding yourself necessarily in one place unless you're absolutely sure you know what's about to happen, which I don't think anyone does.
No, so we're not sure what's going to happen where we currently are. We're renting a house. We love it. We really enjoy living there. We're very comfortable. And we know that if all of a sudden there was something needed to change, we could change it. You literally could be, you could leave the next day. You'd have to like email the landlady and come up with but it's going to cost you some exit fee or whatever else. But you're gone. You could have a moving firm come in and pack your gear up for you, and you are nimble. And that's the way we want to be for the next couple of years. And then just read the signs, watch the signals, listen to your heart, get back to trusting your gut is the best way, and tune out to the noise as much as you can. That's the way we've operated for the last handful of years, certainly since COVID.
And I think I'm going to leave it there, mate. I think that's a good place to end.
Well, thank you.
Don't use their money. Hold on a minute. Don't use their money. I'm just going to reiterate. Don't use their money. Don't sacrifice your kids at the altar of education, and stay on your toes for the next few years.
And stack sats.
That's number one. Right?
Yeah, stack sats. Stay humble, stack sats. But Tim, thank you very much. What you're doing is very important. I really appreciate you and your work at the Free Cities, and getting to know you over the last 5 years or so has been a privilege and a pleasure, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And you, mate. I do. I very much appreciate our friendship. Is it 5 years, really?
2020, we signed. November 2019 is when we first had that call with Saifuddin on his course.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
How things have changed. It really has. I mean, I can't believe... Do you remember talking about 100k Bitcoin? Like, do you remember that? Do you remember how stupid that sounded, and how there was going to be a big party at Sailor's house and stuff?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're at Sailor's house at a 100k party, going, is this real?
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, ETFs. I remember people talking about that. I remember people saying it's going to 1 million, it's going to 10, then it's going to 1, it's going to 10, it's going to 100, now it's going to 1 million. Now everyone admits openly it's going to 1 million. Everyone, like NBC, like Trump, I don't know who. It's not weird to say that stuff out loud. Mm-hmm. It's bizarre. It wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah, more. Good luck anyway. And thanks for coming in again.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
I enjoy these little chats. I think I've this time I literally have come across way crazier than you.
Well, let's go get some dinner.
Yes, nice one. Thank you, mate.
All right, mate.
Nice one.
Thank you.